Speaking of Henry Fonda, they show the 12 Angry Men on TCM quite a bit. That was a great movie, Jack. I love that movie.
Yeah, I don't usually like doing movies, but that one was a joy. That was really a labor of love because Sidney Lumet directed. It was his first movie, and you can't get a cast like that. They were so wonderful, every one of them.
It really was an all-star cast. So many went on to do so much television after that. But what a great story. And again, it was almost like a play, Jack, wasn't it?
Yeah. Reggie Rose wrote it, and he didn't make any money because when the show was done, they played it at the Capitol Theater, which doesn't exist anymore. It was on 50th and Broadway, and it seated 5,000 people. But this was an art film. So they put it on, and after a week they took it off. In France, they put it in an art house, and it ran for 2 years. But here they put it on as because there were so many stars in it. But it didn't do well. So he made most of his money, he told me, doing 12 Angry Women at PTA meetings and things like that. And that's how it became a play.
Talking with Jack Klugman. The name of his book is Tony and Me, A Story of Friendship. And you actually did the play Odd Couple on Broadway, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I replaced Walter Matthau.
Right.
For about 4 months, but then I left. I did it for 4 months. But you couldn't replace Walter. You could just substitute for him. He was so wonderful in that.
What made that play so good? It just everybody identifies with it?
It's the best American comedy written in the 20th century. You notice there is no exposition in that show. Everything from the first line, that's a laugh, where that cop is dealing very slowly, and Speed says, "Tell me, Mr. Maverick, is this your first time on the riverboat?" And we got to laugh on the first line, and it never stopped. You got to know these characters through what they said, but no exposition. It was Danny Simon, his brother, who really was Felix Unger. He was my story editor when I did a series called 90 Bristol Court, which didn't last. And it was his story. He was Felix Unger, but he couldn't write it. So he turned it over to his brother, and his brother wrote it. And he got 10% of it. That 10% was worth about $15 million.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was a big success.
How is Tony's wife doing and the 2 kids?
She's doing very, very well. She's a great gal, and the kids are doing beautifully. 2 beautiful kids. Tony loved being a parent. We were doing The Odd Couple in London in 1977 when he found out she was pregnant, and he knocked on my dressing room door, and I opened it, and he stood there with a grin. He said, "The machinery works."
That's great. And he named them after, I believe, musicians, right? Italian musicians?
Julie, he named after a woman that did Glass Menagerie.
Right.
And the other, he loved, he really was a lover of the theater and a lover of the opera. But he was an aficionado. He knew everything. People used to call him from all over the world to check on facts about the opera. He knew it all. He retained everything.
Remember La Forza del Destino? That was the where you won the car. And I love that episode. Jack, I just got to ask you one question. Any chance on we're seeing Quincy again? I know you said you wrote a script for a Quincy episode or a 2-hour movie.
They don't seem to want it. I have a 2-hour Quincy that CBS put up the money for, and it's a wonderful show. It's a reunion, and it would save 1,000 lives every year. But they invested $70,000, but nobody wants to put it on. So
I tell you that show that you did, besides being very entertaining, you also brought a lot of medical issues to the public forum.
Yeah, well, I tried to be a muckraker. I always wanted to be since I read Upton Sinclair, clean up the slaughterhouses and the coal mines. So when I did that show, I said, I want to cure social injustices that exist. And that's what we did. We dealt with sudden infant death syndrome and orphan diseases and things like that, parent abuse. And we did shows, and they were very entertaining. See, we were interested in the living. Today, these shows in CSI, they're interested in the dead, which has no, they cut you, you see somebody cut a body open and the blood comes out, but that doesn't help the living. And we never had a body on that autopsy table. We were interested if we caught the murderer through an autopsy, that was to help the living so he wouldn't murder anybody else.
Yeah.
If we cut somebody open and found the cause of an epidemic, it stopped that epidemic and it saved the living. So that's the difference between what we did and what they're doing today.
Yeah, it was a great show. Well, you'll be in Sarasota a week from Sunday, and looking forward to that. You doing a tour around Florida, Jack?
Yeah, I'm doing 4 places. Clearwater and Sarasota and a couple of other places. I don't really know where. But there are 4 places that we're going, and I'm doing a lot of book signing and stuff like that.
Well, that's great. It'll be a 2 o'clock show, and I'm going to stop down. I want to see that show,
Please.
Jack, and I'll stop back. I'd love to get a picture with it if you don't mind.
My pleasure.
Been a big fan of yours for a long time. It's called Tony and Me, A Story of Friendship. It's published by Good Hill Press, and I know all the bookstores probably have it, right, Jack?
And you can get it on TonyandMe.com.
That's right. Yeah, great website. Jack, appreciate you joining us from California today. I know it's early out there, but we love talking to you.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next Sunday.